Coco,
Yeah.
we are not English.
Well, I think my level of baked bean consumption would beg to differ. What do you mean?
This baked bean test is not passing the muster with Suella Braverman.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There has been this debate that's been chewed, shat out, re-eaten and re-shat out by a fringe whack job section of the right-wing internet that sort of started in a podcast that's hosted by two morons, had a conversation with Fraser Nelson about whether or not Rishi Sunak was English or not. And that sort of started a conversation. And as with everything throughout human history, nothing has ever been improved by the arrival of Suella Braverman. Like literally nothing is improved by the arrival of Suella Braverman. So she's now weighed in on this debate. She's written, I was born here, raised speaking the Queen's English and educated in England, yet I'm not English. She goes on to say, my heritage with its rich cultural and racial identity is something distinct. I am British Asian and I feel a deep love, gratitude and loyalty to this country, but I cannot claim to be English, nor should I. Braverman's views, it should be noted, have even attracted the condemnation of former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And look, I think the important thing to say here is, in spite of the fact that we have had a Prime Minister of an ethnic minority background, it shows you we've got a long way to go to bring our conversation around race into the late 20th century. Forget about the 21st century. I would settle for 1986 at this point. It's perfectly possible that your parents could be born somewhere and you could be born in a different place, and you are completely capable of assuming the identity of both places without diluting either of those identities. I can't believe we're still having this conversation. I was born in England. I am English. I have other elements to my ethnic identity because my parents come from a different place. If you are born in London, but your parents were born in Liverpool, there is a chance that you feel strongly that you are both a Londoner, but also have a strong attachment to the city of Liverpool. It is both less and no more complicated than that.
Right, exactly. And we all know why they want to overcomplicate it, because they want to try and legitimize a perspective that is fundamentally, if you have brown skin, you can't be English, right? That's basically it. So then it speaks to all their theories about great replacement and England no longer being for the English, because the idea that there's actually loads of English people that are black and brown doesn't suit that narrative. And it has been a little bit depressing to see that it does feel like every Conservative Party Asian now has to answer this question. I saw Rishi Sunak's answered it. Priti Patel's answered it. Priti Patel is English. Rishi Sunak is English. Suella Braverman, not English. And they're just going to go through every single one. It's, it's not the finest moment, but at least they're doing the issues that don't matter to anyone. That's great, isn't it? They're just in their little vortex of culture war, cutting through to no one. So that's great.
There is a sort of interesting and important conversation to be had within this. It's about the sort of shallowness of representation politics and the idea that you can have a South Asian British Prime Minister. It has not followed that it has automatically raised the tenor of conversation around race in this country. In the 1980s, the Conservative MP Norman Tebbit said that you should test whether South Asians in England supported India or England in cricket. And that was a way of proving national loyalty. And the problem is that, as stupid as that sounds taken in isolation now, that's not a million miles away from the conversation about race that's been happening in Britain this week.
Maybe I'm being glib when I say I don't care. I guess I just mean that, like, you know, it's fluid, it's a spectrum, it's personal in many ways. I don't feel that every politician needs to stand up and say, this is exactly my, you know, it's ridiculous, you know. I feel very English when England's winning in the sports.
Yeah, exactly.
When Team GB's doing great, never felt more British. You know, I'm a glory hunter. That's really who I am.
Yeah. The answer to the Tebbit test is and has always been, I support whoever's winning. What are you, a moron? I feel like Bill Murray at the point in Groundhog Day where he's trying to jump off the tower. That's how I feel in terms of this conversation. It's like I'm waking up every day and I've not reached the point of enlightenment. I am nowhere near winning the heart of Andy McDowell in this specific Groundhog Day metaphor about race-based conversations in Britain. Puxatawny Phil.
Puxatawny Phil, yes. Yes, this conversation has got big Punxsutawney Phil energy.